I live now? Is that good? Yeah, sorry. And thank you very much for inviting me here. Thank you for those who are in the room listening and those who are at home and online, if they've not taken the opportunity to go to lunch straight away now. But taxation in times of crisis, I think, is a very appropriate title for today. If this government was trying to attract investment to the UK, which is something I applaud, it's something I spend a lot of my time when I've been working in the city, encouraging and seeing happen. Actually having the sort of mess, Mike, sorry, I didn't realize you were there, but we won't blame me. Having the sort of mixed messages that are going out at present is not good, because obviously what business wants more than anything is confidence. And this is not going to engender confidence, but there we are. Okay, so I'm here speaking on behalf of the tax charities, as we call them. I'm a patron of the umbrella fundraising organisation for them called Bridge the Gap. And there are two charities which I think the tax community owns and should own. TaxAid and Tax Help for Older People. And in case you're confused, Tax Help for Older People is not a personal appeal for some help for me. It's, as I'll explain in a minute, a rather neat organisation. When I was asked to be patron along with Andrew Park, I'm not sure whether somebody who's been a QC and then retires becomes a KC automatically when the Queen dies, but anyway, Andrew Park QC as was. I was astonished. I've never heard of them. And let me start with TaxAid, because that was the thing that drew my attention first of all. The idea that you would have a tax charity dealing with homeless people struck me as very odd. Why would homeless people have tax problems? Well, you know, there's one very simple example on that. There are numerous others. That your local builder or trader who finds the customer doesn't pay, gets into financial trouble, has drinking problems, family problems, or whatever, you know, it's not a very long period from being successful and in business to being on the streets. You lose your family, lose your home, you're on the streets. And a number of homeless charities are obviously helping people on that. One of the, I think, many good things that have come out of the pandemic, and there are some of those horrible things as well, but there were some good things that have come out of it, has been the way in which the homeless charities have set their objectives. We had the period, if you remember, when London's hotels were then filled up with homeless people during the winter, and that's great. And some of the homeless charities are now saying, you know, they think using student type accommodation, that it's credible to think that you would get people off the streets in within the next 5 to 10 years, which would be wonderful. You can't live in central London without being affected by the people you see there. So why would they have tax problems? Well, yes, they had a successful business. One of the creditors in their business when it's gone under is obviously going to be the revenue, and the revenue are quite assiduous in trying to collect debts. But the thing that I really noticed was the idea that someone in that situation, yes, gets picked up by one of the homeless charities, gets helped back into accommodation, possibly back into work again, and then starts to register with the revenue. And of course, the automatic assumption with the revenue is that they've been earning money and not paying tax in the 5 to 10 years they've been away from when they were at the top of the very slippery slope and went down. So the revenue will go after that person and will mount what might be quite an aggressive inquiry. And what TaxAid does then is to step in and to help people and say to the revenue, they have their own hotline to the revenue, which we all wish we had personally, to say, actually, leave this person alone. They've come into us, we're sorting them out, and we'll get back to you. And that's a great thing, because if that can help that person go back up the slope on the other side again, that's just wonderful. But you need expertise to do that, which is where we come into it. And there are others as well. Obviously, on the benefit system, that's increasingly complex. And if you're a single parent trying to look after young children and trying to live with benefits as well, then clearly you're going to need help in that area, and you can get yourself into trouble. And again, TaxAid will help. Tax Help for Older People is an ingenious idea for those who've gone through losing a parent, you'll know that's distressing enough in itself. But actually, for one of the parent who's left, then to find that there's a very jumbled tax file and the off envelope arrives through the door with some perhaps terrifying messages in it, you need a bit of help. Now, people in the tax profession who have spare time in their what I called yesterday to someone the twilight years, so I'm looking forward to mine at some point, I'm not sure when they're going to arrive, to have to deal with all that on top of the grief that they're suffering is not great. And tax help for older people mobilizes voluntary advisors to help people in those circumstances on a regional basis, so if they can come around and sort out that file of papers, which somebody's always been meaning to deal with, but they've never quite got round to, and then get the revenue back on side again. What a great gift that is. So when I first got involved, I thought, well, that's great. Why haven't I heard of them? And I lead a sheltered life, but I hadn't heard of them. And I think many other people hadn't either. And one of the things that Stephen and John and colleagues have done in the two charities is actually get the news out there. And the tax publications have been great on that as well in helping us to do it. But also, I mean, both organisations obviously need money. Tax help for older people, as I said, a lot of volunteer help there, and that's great, but they need infrastructure. They've got costs in running their operations, a lot on the phone lines, premises to work together. And TaxAid obviously has got to be on the ground in the jurisdictions where there are, in the places where people have got problems. So there is a need for funding. It seemed to us that actually, if the tax community didn't support those charities, then why would anybody else, frankly? You know, if they don't have a powerful enough appeal for someone like me, obviously we've all got our own causes that we like to support, and that's great, and I don't discourage that. I mean, you should, but to the extent that the tax charities can raise funding from the tax community, that helps them enormously, not only in terms of the funding that's raised, but it also increases their credibility in going to outside sources of funding as well. So we have had people who have, at the corporate or firm level, got involved in supporting the organisations at an individual level as well, and we're very grateful for all that. And then we have had people who have, either within tax departments or individually, if anybody's read Brian Chapman, formerly at Unilever and then British Aerospace, report of climbing up Kilimanjaro recently, knows full well what going the extra mile means on that, because he, I think, nearly felt he lost his sight towards coming to the top. And what a thing to climb all that way and then not see the view, really. But fortunately, he's all right, I think, and he's recovered once he's come down from altitude. But, you know, people have done challenges like that, getting involved in runs. Melissa Geiger, when she was at GSK, still did a great deal within the GSK tax team to get people involved. It's a great thing for tax departments to sign up to and say, these are our charities, and we should support them, and let's support them in a way that actually engenders a culture within tax that we're doing something together. So I would endorse them to you. You can find out more by looking online at what they do. I'm more than happy for people, if you want to come to me and say, well, we'd like to find out a little bit more. And Stephen, I'm sure then we can help people who want to go and look at what TaxAid, for example, does in London will be good. But they're important charities. I think they do a great job. They do it in our name, and I'm more than happy to support them myself and to recommend them to you as well. So I'm very happy to take questions, but I suspect probably lunch is more important right now. But thank you very much indeed. Stephen, do you want me to add anything else at this stage? That's good. Okay. All right. Well, thanks again for the opportunity, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your conference. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Stephen. I think that is so important, and that's why we wanted to have this space and have Steve join us today to talk about how we can get involved, because they are our charities. And it's not just Steve. Could you just, can I ask John and to stand up? So those of you who are interested in getting involved, these three gentlemen should be talked to, and definitely get involved. With that, thank you. We will go break for lunch, and we should be back by when, Joanne? 1:50. Thank you very much.
Thank you.